11 players during the most important 15 days of Arsenal's entire season, and before this video is over, I am going to show you why that number is almost entirely misleading. I was sitting watching the notifications come in, one after another, during the international break, and I am not going to lie to you, each one landed differently because this was not a quiet week. This was supposed to be a recovery week, a reset week, and instead, every few hours, another name appeared on the list. Now look, when that number hit 11, I will be completely honest with you, my first reaction was the same as most people watching this right now. That looks bad. That looks really... I did something that most of the coverage around this story has not done. I sat with the actual data. I went through every single name on that list, every injury report, every official club and federation statement, every timeline. And what I found was not what the headlines are telling you, not even close. There is also one specific injury on this list that nobody is talking about properly. And by the end of this video, I think it will be the one you are most concerned about too. So today, I want to show you exactly what is actually going on here, because the real story is far more interesting than 11 players on a list. I am Amelia. If you are new here, this channel is about one thing, understanding Arsenal through analysis, not through noise, not through panic, not through headlines, through proper analytical thinking. If that sounds like the kind of content you want, hit subscribe now. 2 seconds, never miss a breakdown. Right, let us get into this properly. So first, let us set the scene. Arsenal go into this international break, top of the Premier League, 9 points clear of Manchester City, 9 points. That is not a lucky lead. That is not a flattering lead. That is a lead built over 31 games of serious, consistent, high-level football. And now, during a break that was supposed to give this squad a moment to recover and reset, 11 players have withdrawn from international duty with their respective nations. Now, the media framing has been exactly what you would expect. Crisis, injury scare, Arteta under pressure. And I understand why those words are being used. 11 is a striking number. It gets attention. But here is what I want you to sit with before we go any further. What if most of that list was not reactive? What if most of it was already planned? Stay with me, because the answer to that question changes everything about how you read April. Now, before I answer that, let me ask you something. When you first saw that number 11 players, what went through your mind? I am genuinely curious. Drop it in the comments, because I think the reaction people had to this story tells you a lot about how far Arsenal have come psychologically as a group of supporters. A few years ago, this kind of news would have felt devastating, genuinely devastating, like the season was slipping away before April even started. Today, there is something slightly different underneath it, a kind of cautious calm that was not always there. And I think that shift is worth acknowledging because it reflects something real about this group and what they have built. Right, let us keep moving. Here is a central question I want us to work through today. And I want you to hold this thought across the entire video. Are Arsenal genuinely in danger right now? Or is Arteta in more control of this situation than anyone is giving him credit for? Because the answer to that question completely changes how you read the next 15 days. I will give you my full verdict later, but first, you need to understand what the list actually contains. Right, first layer of analysis, and I want to do this carefully because the detail matters here. This is the part most people have not broken down properly. Let me walk you through that list, not the way it has been reported, the way it actually breaks down. There are 3 distinct categories on this withdrawal list, and understanding the difference between them is genuinely the entire point of this video. Category 1, real injuries, confirmed medical situations. Genuine timelines, Noni Madueke, left knee, walked out of Wembley in a brace after England versus Uruguay. No confirmed diagnosis yet, no timeline. A genuine unknown, Eberechi Eze, calf, approximately 1 month out. He misses all 5 of the critical fixtures coming up. All 5, Mikel Merino, foot, long term, still on crutches since January. The break changes nothing for him. Those 3 are real. Those 3 matter. We will come back to them. And when we do, I want to show you why one of them is far more damaging than it first appears. Category 2, confirmed discomfort. Players carrying something real, but expected back for the first fixture after the break. Martin Odegaard, knee, pre-existing situation, has been carefully managed for weeks. The target is Southampton on April 4th. The target, not the guarantee. Piero Hincapié left the Ecuador match after 70 minutes against Morocco. Nature of the injury has not been officially confirmed, And that is the part with him that I am watching closely. Gabriel Magalhães, right knee discomfort. Brazil confirmed imaging tests, not fit for international duty, but expected back at club level. Now, category 3. And this is where I want you to pay close attention, because this is the category the media are not separating out clearly enough. Managed precautions, William Saliba. Recurring ankle pain, France. Club recommended rest period. Leandro Trossard, hip problem. Did not travel to Belgium. Urian Timber, knock sustained against Everton. Managed exit from the Netherlands squad. Martin Zubimendi, right knee discomfort, played 13 minutes for Spain, then withdrawn. Declan Rice and Bukayo Saka both left the England camp early with what the manager described as reported problems to the medical staff. Now, here is what I need you to notice about that third category. Clubs have significant influence in these conversations. When Arsenal indicate that a player is carrying something and should not be risked, international managers, at this stage of the season, listen. So when you see Rice and Saka leave the England camp, Saliba not travelling to France, Trossard staying in London, ask yourself one simple question. Who benefits from those decisions? It is not the national teams. And there is something specific about the Zubimendi withdrawal that I need to come back to later, because once you understand the full context, it reads completely differently to how it has been reported. Let us take a breath for a second, because I know what some of you are thinking. And honestly, I had the same thought when I first went through the list. Amelia, even if it is managed, 11 players is still 11 players. And you are right. I am not dismissing the volume. What I am saying is that volume without context is just a number, and context is everything here. So let us go deeper, because this is where the real analysis begins. And this next part is the section I think most people watching have not considered. Here is what most people are missing when they look at this story. And I mean most people, including a lot of the punditry I have seen around this. It is not about the individual names. It is about what happens when several of them are unavailable at the same time. Arsenal's system under Arteta is not a shape on a tactics board. It is a precisely calibrated mechanism. Every player has a specific function within the structure, a specific role, a specific responsibility, and certain players in this squad are not simply interchangeable. They are load-bearing. Think about what Arteta's system actually requires in midfield. Odegaard drops into the half space to receive from the back four. He is the creative connector, the first pass out of pressure, the player who makes the link between defence and attack feel effortless. Zubimendi sits behind him, he shields, he recycles, he covers the ground that allows everyone around him to take risks going forward. Rice covers everything, the transitions, the defensive responsibilities, the carrying runs that break lines, the energy across 90 minutes that holds the entire structure together. Now, what happens if even two of those three are at 70 or 80%? Not absent, not injured beyond playing, just not at full capacity? The build-up slows, the press triggers misfire, the chance creation in the final third drops measurably, because this system depends on those three functioning at full intensity. In combination, simultaneously, this is where the real risk lives. Not one player missing, not one injury on a list, the cumulative effect of several players being just slightly below themselves at the exact moment when the fixtures demand the very best of them. Do you see the distinction? That is what I want you to carry into the next section. And the next section is where my thinking on this story genuinely shifted. Now, this is where things change, because there is one injury on this list that I genuinely believe is being significantly underreported. And this detail matters more than people realise. Eberechi Eze. Everyone is focused on Madueke and the knee brace. I understand why that image from Wembley is alarming. It demands attention, but let me offer you a different perspective. Madueke joined this summer. He has spent part of this season still adapting to the system. Eze is something different. He is the player who operates between the lines in a way that nobody else in this squad replicates. When Arsenal face a compact, organised defensive block, a team sitting deep, protecting space, making it deliberately difficult to play through, Eze is the player who finds pockets in those tight areas. He receives between the lines, he creates half a yard out of nothing. He manufactures moments where the ball suddenly travels through a defence that looks sealed. Martinelli does not do that. Trossard does not do that. Madueke does not do that. Not in the same way, not with the same instinct. And a 1 month absence means Isak misses Southampton. He misses both Sporting Lisbon legs. He misses Bournemouth. We misses Manchester City, all 5 of the most important fixtures Arsenal face this season. That is not a rotation problem. That is a tactical dimension that Arsenal simply do not have access to for the most critical 15 days of their entire campaign. And the reason this matters so much is precisely the type of opponents Arsenal are about to face in the Champions League quarter-final against Sporting, in the Premier League showdown at the Etihad. These are organised teams, or defensively structured teams that are designed to make it difficult. The player best equipped to unlock those situations is out for a month. Take a moment and genuinely sit with what that means, because when I put those two things together, Eze gone for a month, Madueke an unknown, I will be honest, that was the moment in my research where I paused. That was the moment I thought, right, this is the combination that actually matters. But here is where it gets more interesting, because there is an angle on this squad coming up that I have not seen discussed anywhere, and it involves a player whose situation looks completely different once you understand the full picture. Right, now I want to bring something to the table that has barely featured in any of the mainstream coverage around this story. And honestly, when I first made this connection, it stopped me in my tracks a little. Martin Zubimendi, against his former club. Zubimendi spent years at Sporting Lisbon before Arsenal. He learned that system from the inside. He trained against their patterns every single day. He knows how they press. He knows how they build from the back. He knows exactly where they are structurally vulnerable in transition. Now, if Zubimendi is fit for both legs of that Champions League quarter-final, Arsenal possess something that money cannot simply purchase, a player who understands the opponent from years of lived experience within their system. That kind of tactical intelligence in a European quarter-final is genuinely rare. And here is the part most viewers have missed entirely. When you hear that Arteta pulled Zubimendi from Spain early to protect his right knee before Sporting, I want you to reframe how you see that decision. It is not anxiety. It is not defensive thinking. It might be the single most important decision Arteta makes this entire week. Is that an angle you had considered before today? Because it completely transforms the Zubimendi withdrawal story from a concern into a potentially deliberate, calculated, strategic move. Now keep that thought in mind, because when I give you my full professional verdict shortly, it connects directly to this moment. Now let me give you my honest professional assessment. And I want to be straight with you here. No hedging, no diplomatic softening, just analysis. The injury list taken as a whole does not change Arsenal's season trajectory. The 9-point lead is real. The squad depth is real. The system Arteta has built over 3 years is real. And I say that not as someone cheering for a result. I say it as someone who has watched this squad closely enough to know what it can withstand. But here is where I will not be comfortable until I see clarity. Noni Madueke's left knee. Every other situation on that list has a logical resolution. Riss comes back, Saka comes back, Gabriel returns, Saliba rests and recovers, Zubimendi manages his discomfort, Odegaard builds back to full sharpness through Southampton, Madueke walked out of Wembley in a brace, no diagnosis, no timeline, no official update from Arsenal. Until the medical team provide clarity on what that scan shows, that is the one situation I am watching more closely than anything else on this list. Not because of what Madueke is right now, he is still settling into the team and finding consistency, but because of what his absence does to Arsenal's width options, combined with Isak already being out for a month. Suddenly the attacking wide areas become Saka on the right, Martinelli on the left, and limited genuine alternatives behind them. That is workable, but it is thin for a squad operating across 3 competitions simultaneously. And the next point I want to make is one that I think changes how you evaluate this squad, not just for April, but for next summer as well. Here is something I want to address directly, because I think it is an underappreciated part of this entire conversation. Arsenal's system is extraordinarily physically demanding. The high press, the intensity of the build-up sequences, the defensive line that requires defenders to constantly accelerate and reset, the midfield runners covering distances that most top teams simply do not ask of their players. This system extracts a significant physical cost. And every Arsenal supporter watching this already knows what I mean by that. You have seen it in the second halves. You have felt it across the heavy fixture run. The volume of managed withdrawals we are seeing during this break, remember Rice himself describing feeling shattered after the run of fixtures in February and March, is not a coincidence. It is the natural, predictable consequence of a squad that has been executing Arteta's system at maximum intensity since the start of August. Now, and this is a fair question, so let me ask it directly, was the squad built with enough depth to absorb this moment? In some areas, yes. The central midfield recruitment this summer was deliberately designed to give Arteta genuine rotation options. Zubimendi alongside Rice, Marino in reserve, Norgard as an experienced alternative. That is a real rotation group. In other areas, left back, creative width, the depth heading into this period is thinner than you would ideally want. Hincapié was brought in on loan specifically to cover this kind of moment. If he is unavailable for both sporting legs, Miles Lewis-Skelly steps into a Champions League quarter-final as the primary left-back option. He is talented, genuinely talented. The performances he has produced this season have been remarkable for his age. But asking a teenager to be your first choice left-back in a European quarter-final in Lisbon, under pressure against an organised and experienced side, is not the scenario the recruitment was designed to produce. And I think most of us watching closely would admit that is the position on the pitch that makes you slightly uneasy when you look at the fixture list. Something important follows from all of this, and it goes beyond April. We will get to that shortly. Let us zoom out now, because I think the broader picture here is something worth sitting with beyond just the next 15 days. This is where things change in terms of how we should think about this squad beyond April. This injury list is also, if you read it carefully, a recruitment report card. And parts of it read well, and parts of it reads questions that extend well beyond April 2026. The Saliba's ankle, described officially as recurring, that word matters more than any other word in any of the medical statements this week. Recurring means this is not an isolated incident. This is a pattern, a centre-back operating in a high defensive line whose entire defensive effectiveness depends on explosive movement, on reading situations early, on recovering quickly when the line is breached, cannot carry a recurring ankle problem through a full season without genuine structural risk. If that becomes a consistent issue next season, Arsenal need a partner-level centre-back in reserve, not a squad depth option, a genuine starter-calibre alternative. That is a summer conversation that this injury list is quietly beginning, and here is the other reflection I keep coming back to. Isak's importance has never been more clearly visible than it is right now in his absence. When he was signed, the reaction was positive but measured. Interesting depth, a good option, a quality addition. April 2026 is showing us it was something more structurally important than that. His profile in tight spaces is not replicated anywhere else in this squad. That tells you something worth noting about overall balance, not as a criticism of the recruitment, as an honest analytical observation about where the squad currently stands. Now let me walk you through the fixture map, because this is where everything becomes concrete. Right, let me walk you through what I actually expect to happen across the next 15 days. And I want to be precise here because the scenario planning genuinely matters. Southampton on April 4th, FA Cup quarter-final. Arsenal cannot be casual about this fixture. A cup run alongside a title race and a European quarter-final would represent something historically significant for this group. But this is also a game where Arteta has the most flexibility to manage minutes carefully. Rice at 80 minutes, Saka at 75, Zubimendi making a measured return to match sharpness, Odegaard at 60 or 65 if full fitness is not quite there yet. Test Hincapie's readiness in a domestic cup fixture rather than in Lisbon. That is sensible, that is intelligent squad management. And Arsenal have more than enough quality available to win that game without everyone operating at 100%. Sporting Lisbon away on April 7th. Now this is where everything sharpens. European quarter-final, first leg away from home against a side that is organised, confident and playing in a stadium that creates genuine atmosphere and pressure. If Zubimendi is fit and properly prepared, this could be the most tactically intelligent Arsenal performance of the entire season. His understanding of that system in that ground against those patterns is a genuine and significant advantage. If Zubimendi is not fit, Arteta faces a real strategic choice. Does he approach this cautiously and protect the Emirates for the second leg? Or does he take the game to Sporting directly, building the attack around Gyökeres's physicality and movement? Both approaches are viable, neither is straightforward. And then April 19th, Manchester City away. 9 points clear today. Mathematically, Arsenal could lose that match and still hold a meaningful advantage in the title race. But here is the reality of top-level football that the numbers cannot fully capture. A defeat at the Etihad in front of a City crowd that has spent most of this season believing the gap would eventually close changes the atmosphere around the final weeks. Even if the mathematics still firmly favour Arsenal, Every person watching this who has followed this club through the painful near misses understands exactly what I mean by that. Momentum in a title race is not always rational. Sometimes it is about the story the football is telling. So the target for Arteta is precise. Arrive at the Etihad on April 19th with every important player having had proper recovery time and at least a full week of training at full intensity behind them. That is what the next 15 days are actually about. Not just winning the individual games, getting this squad to Manchester in the right condition. That is the real objective. And before I close, I want to leave you with the one thought that reframed this entire story for me. Before I close, I want to share one thought that has stayed with me through all of this analysis. When the number was 11 players and rising, the instinct, understandably, was to calculate what is missing. And I felt that too, if I am being completely honest, that creeping feeling during the international break where each notification made the list longer. But then I started doing something else. I started listing what is still standing. David Raya, Ben White, Gabriel Martinelli, Victor Gyökeres, Christian Norgard, Miles Lewis-Skelly, Kai Havertz, and then the players returning from managed exits. Rice, Saka, Saliba, Gabriel, Timber, Trossard. This squad carrying this level of disruption during an international break across 3 active competitions is 9 points clear of Manchester City in the Premier League. Think about what that tells you about the quality that Arteta has built here. Think about what that tells you about the depth of this group. This is not a squad on the edge of something. This is a squad with the foundation to weather this moment, as long as Arteta manages it with the precision and intelligence that got them to this position in the first place. And the real story of this international break is not 11 withdrawals. It is whether Arteta can deliver every important player to the Etihad on April 19th with something meaningful left in the tank. Because that game, that specific 90 minutes, could be the moment this entire season is defined. Not by who is injured, by who is ready. Right before you go, I genuinely want to know what you think. Not a generic question, a real one. When you look at these 5 fixtures coming up, Southampton, Sporting away, Bournemouth, Sporting at home, City, which one are you personally most focused on? Is it the away leg in Lisbon because of what Zubimendi brings to that match specifically? Or is it the Etihad because of what it means for the title and for the psychological story of this season? Drop your answer below, tell me your thinking, because this kind of analysis gets sharper when the people watching it push back on it. And if this gave you a clearer picture of what is actually happening behind the headlines, send it to someone who has spent this international break worrying more than they need to, because when you look at it properly, when you actually go through the data rather than just reacting to the number, Arsenal are not in crisis, Arsenal are in April, and there is a big difference between those two things. I am Amelia, this is Amelia, Arsenal Update, see you for the next one.